Hello, everyone, and welcome to the session about course options in politics, social sciences, and education. This session is about listening to some of our current students about their experiences, and then there's going to be time afterwards to put forward your questions for them individually or as a group. The students on this session will be talking about their own experiences and perceptions of their courses. They will not be representing the views of all students nor the courses itself. And it's really important to remember that everyone's experiences will, of course, be different. So the purpose of this session is to give you further information to help you choose your outside or optional courses. It's important that you make this decision this week so that you can confirm it with your school and then start your courses from next week. If you haven't already, you should go to the Course Options Hub, which is that web link on the page there, which I'll put in the chat box afterwards. So this gives you information from PATH and DRPS on all of the course content and structures, and it also gives you the tools about the course timetable browser to work out how that fits within your program. We also have over 85-minute videos from lots of different academics from across all subject areas who are introducing you to their course. And these are really great videos to get an insight from the academic itself who will be teaching you, but also about what the course actually involves. Some academics have also offered to hold virtual Q&A or office hours this week. There's an awful lot of academics from this particular subject area who are offering lots of opportunities to do that this week. You'll be able to find all of these sessions that the academics are holding if you go into the events app, find the course options menu, and then search for any event that starts with Chat to an Academic. So there's loads, as I said, there's loads of academics within this subject area who have put sessions in for this. So after you've explored the website and you've gone to the tools, watched the videos, maybe chatted to some of the academics yourself, the next thing you'll need to do is confirm your choices with your school or program. And the deadline to choose your courses is the end of week 2, which is the 2nd of October. Unfortunately, we cannot give you any further advice in this session about how to confirm your choices because it's completely different per school, and your school will provide this information. Either they have already or they will be doing that through their school induction activities this week. If you have not heard from them, please do get in touch with them immediately, as it's really important that you have the information about your next steps about what you do next. So this session today will not cover all the courses available under the subject grouping, but hopefully our panel will represent some of the courses you might be interested in, or you might even find out more about something you've not even considered yet. If there are other courses you're interested in that our student panel haven't done themselves or don't know about, you will be able to find them on the Course Options Hub through PATH or through the academic videos or any of the other resources that are available. So that will be enough of me speaking. I'm now delighted to hand over to our current students who are going to talk about their experiences of their courses. After they have all spoken, we will open up the chat area for questions. Please do not raise your hand or type in questions while they're speaking, and that would be great, and we'll open it up afterwards. So thank you very much, and I will pass you straight over to Emma. Thank you.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? Just to start with, so that I'm not talking into the void. Wonderful. Right, so hello everyone, my name is Emma. I'm 20 years old and I'm going into my 3rd year of an international relations degree. I'm originally from Hounslow in West London and started at university in 2018, straight off the back of my A-levels, where I studied history, French, and government and politics. In my spare time, I work part-time for the university as a student ambassador and for the Students' Association as part of their technical and production crew. In terms of societies, I'm heavily involved in student theatre. I'm technical manager for the Edinburgh University Theatre Company and the Edinburgh Review, which is the stand-up comedy society, and I'm also technical advisor to the Savoy Opera Group, as well as having done lighting design for the footlights for the last 2 years. Additionally, I'm also an officer cadet with the City of Edinburgh University's Officer Training Corps, which is part of the British Army Reserve. So there's a couple of different reasons why I chose Edinburgh. Firstly, and probably most importantly, I really like the flexibility that my degree programme gave me. I played around with the idea of studying a lot of different subjects as my main degree, like history, French, and Middle Eastern studies, before settling on international relations. So being able to spend a sizable chunk of my first 2 years continuing to study really broadly suited me well. Secondly, I like the idea of not having all that many contact hours. I've really, in the last few years, tried to work on my skills as an independent learner, and it's something I have improved a lot since coming to uni. I like that I'm able to get my working day done early and then have the late afternoon and evening to myself to socialise with friends or take part in societies. Edinburgh is also just a lovely city to live in. Having grown up in West London, I'm very used to that city atmosphere, and so the idea of going to a university in the middle of a field on a campus was a really scary thought to me. That being said, my second year flatmate was from the tiniest little village in West Lancashire, and she found that Edinburgh wasn't actually so large as to be intimidating. Finally, and perhaps the most niche reason why I chose Edinburgh was because of the student theatre opportunities it presented. As Edinburgh is the home of the Fringe Festival, I was excited to get involved with student theatre and learn skills outside of the classroom. Although I did turn up at uni convinced I was going to be a musical theatre actor, I've since found my niche in technical theatre and lighting design, and the facilities of Edinburgh have been a really great learning opportunity. So over my first 2 years at university, I've taken quite a lot of courses from the School of Social and Political Sciences. In my first year, this was the two compulsory modules, with the rest of my time taken up with outside history and languages courses from the School of Literatures, Languages and Cultures. In my second year, I actually chose 2 of my 3 outside courses from within SPS. Alongside my other outside course, which was a course on introductory Arabic language, I chose to take a course about European social policy and a course entitled Africa in the Contemporary World. I chose the social policy course because it was something a bit different to what I'd studied in politics classes at school or university, and I'd just returned from a month travelling the European Union as a Discovery EU ambassador for the European Commission, so I wanted to learn more about the inner workings of the EU in the sphere of social policy. Taking this course alongside the compulsory module of international cooperation in Europe and beyond actually worked out quite nicely for me because we covered the functions and setup of the EU in adjacent weeks. So by the end of that period, I was super confident with the material. As interesting as the course was, I also got a bit of a counterintuitive positive out of it, in that it confirmed to me that I didn't want to focus on the European Union for my honours years and my dissertation, which was something I'd toyed with before taking the course. Turning to the African Studies course, this was one that I was really excited about. Like Middle Eastern and Chinese history courses I'd taken in first year, this was a really broad brush overview of a huge range of different academic fields like history, sociology, and geography, taught by a massive roster of academics with the opportunity for some really interesting tutorial discussions that fell outside the realm of what I was covering in my compulsory modules. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 situation at the end of the last year meant I didn't actually finish this course, but nonetheless, what I did of it was incredibly enjoyable. So just a couple of more general pieces of advice for taking courses within the School of Social and Political Sciences, whether they're compulsory or outside modules. Firstly, and perhaps most obviously, do the reading. It's not just there to make your life miserable, as much as it might feel like that sometimes. Even if it's content that you think you already know, like if it's something you covered in A-level politics, you'll definitely learn something new. If you're a really slow and terrible reader, like I know that I am, you've got those 2 pre-honours years to find methods that work for you to cover the large amount of reading that you have to do for a social science. For me, I found that I was making way too many notes and it was taking me twice as long to get through the readings. Obviously, making notes can be really helpful if you want a clearer idea of what's going on, but rewriting the textbook isn't going to help anybody. So it's important to try and find a happy medium whilst you've got time to. Secondly, do the prep for tutorials and do it before rather than during the tutorial in question. There's literally nothing worse than the deathly silence of a tutorial when it's obvious that only 1 or 2 people have done the reading. Those tutorials are infinitely more valuable if you know what's going on in advance. Thirdly, finding somewhere you like working is really important. For me, I thought I was going to work really well in my bedroom in my student accommodation, but unfortunately that had both Wi-Fi and a fridge, and both of those things were incredibly distracting. So if I've got deadlines I need to hit, I work in one of the libraries on campus. I'm a big fan of the Law Library in Old College and the Divinity Library at New College. And if it's more casual, I really enjoyed working in the New Amphion at TV at Row House with a cup of coffee and a slice of cake. That being said, I rarely ended up working for an extended period of time in there because normally I'd bump into someone I know and get sidetracked. Keeping on top of deadlines, especially when in courses where no small part of the final grade is based on essay writing, is super important. I fell into the trap in my first year of thinking I had absolutely ages to write my essays, and so I was spending far too much time doing societies and then running out of time. But now I absolutely swear by my to-do lists. Finally, I just wanted to comment quickly about the advantages of doing in-school outside courses. I think it's really important not to rule out in-school courses just because they're similar in teaching or assessment style to your compulsory courses. In my experience, I've definitely found that these in-school courses can actually be really complementary to my main degree program without being tiresome or repetitive, especially if it's a slightly different discipline or style of learning and writing, like I found with my social policy course. Thank you all very much for listening, and now I'm handing over to Joy.
Hi, so my name is Joy Mongi, and I'm a second year actually studying. I was studying social policy and economics, and I am from Kenya. So a bit about me. So I started my course last year, September, and I was taking social policy and economics. However, in my second year, I decided I'm going to switch out of the School of Social and Political Science. So I will now be doing economics with finance. Reason why I chose to do that is because I felt like as much as I did enjoy social policy, it was a great course and I enjoyed it really like so much. It just wasn't in line with what I wanted to do after I graduate, and I was gravitating more towards doing something with economics and finance. But I still think it's a great course, and I will still be taking courses within the School of Social and Political Science. So my interests involve traveling, volunteering, going out with friends, and I do a lot of that when I'm in school. So why I chose Edinburgh? So there's so many reasons, but my top three are Edinburgh is such a beautiful and unique city, and I wanted the new experience. So most of my friends usually go to England to study, and I was like, I want something new. And I said, like when I was researching my universities, I came across the University of Edinburgh, and I thought it's a really beautiful school and just a unique place. And I thought I want I want something new and something else that was interesting. Like it's a mix of both because it's like it's a city but a small city, so it's not you don't get overwhelmed by like the big cities like London. Number two would be ranking. Of course, like who doesn't want to go to a good school? And like the university is ranked in the top 20 in the world, so that definitely attracted me to the school. Thirdly, diversity. As an international student, being in a community with many international students was definitely an advantage for me because I wanted to be able to fit into the school. And so we have over 30% of our community in the university is made up of international students, which means there are very many international student societies, like the African Caribbean Society, which I'm part of. So this was really great for me just integrating into the school. So what do I like about Edinburgh? Number one, it's a student city, so there's like a lot of things for students to do. Also, everything is quite central. So for me, I don't have to walk more than 20 minutes to get to anywhere. Like my accommodation is 10 minutes away from school. I'm at George Square campus. It's like literally next to everything. The supermarket, Princess Street, everything is quite central. So I can literally walk anywhere, which is a great thing and it's quite convenient. Also, there's a lot of things to do from climbing off the seat, going to the beach, castle, going out for events when Corona wasn't a thing. There's always an event happening, maybe at like night time, the daytime, there's a lot of things for you to do. Lastly, there's a lot of flexibility in your course, especially since it's a 4-year course. In your first 2 years, you do have a lot of flexibility, so you can take um, quite a number of like optional courses, or you can switch courses like I did. So the flexibility is really great if you don't know what you want to do or you're just trying to explore different things. So that's a good thing. So an overview of my course. So as I mentioned earlier, I was doing a joint course, social policy and economics in my first year when I was able to take two optional courses outside my compulsory ones. So my compulsory courses were social policy and society, politics of the welfare state, and economics one. And I was able to take two optional courses. And the good thing is you can take a course from literally out anywhere. So I did a optional course in math, and then I did Africa in the Contemporary World, which, as Emma mentioned, is a great course. Would really recommend doing it if you just like to know more about what happens like in African continent. So our lectures, I would have two 1 hour lectures per week and 1 hour tutorial every week. So what I enjoyed, and what were the challenges? So I really enjoyed the tutorials because they would always turn into debates because we really discuss very like controversial topics, from like poverty to different like rights and needs. So would always have a debate in my tutorials, which were like very intellectually stimulating because you'd get to discuss very interesting things. And the good thing about tutorials is that they put you with people from different backgrounds and there's different places. So like there's quite a broad perspective you get in your tutorials. So it was just interesting hearing people's different perspectives. So it always made our tutorials very interesting. And I was lucky to have people who like talking and debating. So my tutorials are always really fun. Biggest challenge was definitely the readings. So we would have quite a lot of readings to do. Those days would have about like 5 or 6 20-page readings that would like, and like doing like 3 social policy courses, like SPS courses. So I'd always have so many readings to do. So yeah, that was definitely a challenge for me, but you get through it. Tips. Honestly, my number one tip would be make sure you enjoy the course and the content, because that's the only thing that's going to motivate you to actually do all your readings. And you do need to do all your readings because you need them for your essays, but because there are a lot of readings for you to do, like you really have to enjoy the content for you to actually enjoy doing your readings. That makes sense. As Emma said, don't leave your essays till last minute. Trust me, like it won't go well for you. Like you might think you have a lot of time because they give you like the deadline, the due date in the beginning of the semester. So you think you have so much time to do your essays, but you really don't. You leave things up to last minute, like because it's a lot of research you have to do. You might end up doing really badly just because you didn't plan your time well. So literally, like plan, like honestly, they give you so much time. Even if it's just doing a bit every week, it can really help you grade at the end of it. Lastly, if the opportunity is offered, always give your essays in for feedback. So I know my tutors would always offer to give feedback for my essays, like a month before they were due. If this opportunity is given to you, please be sure to take it, because this could really be the difference between you getting a second class or a first class, because they do like the feedback is really impactful. So this is something I wish I did more. So if your tutor does offer the opportunity for you to get feedback on your essays, just push yourself and make sure you like giving your essays for feedback. That's it from me. Thank you. I would like to hand over to Melissa.
Hiya, I hope you guys can hear me. Yes, maybe? Yes, fantastic. Okay. So Joy and Emma have covered everything really, really well. I'm just going to give you guys a bit of my experience. It is obviously different for every single person here. And for every student you speak to, you will get a different answer about these kind of things. But it's important to also remember there's not a set way to do it. So especially in first year, like you might have, for instance, say you do history, you fill in with a group, and 3 people do history in your group, and they're like, well, we're going to pick this French module. If that's not something that's interesting you, that's okay. Like it's completely okay to just follow things that you find interesting, and even if other people don't. So I'll give you a little bit about myself, why I picked the city, and then I'll talk about my electives. So as you can see, my name is Melissa. I am a 4th year social anthropology with development student. I'm Scottish, so I'm from, there's a little map, I think. I've been in Edinburgh University since 2017. And there's my little map. So Glasgow is just west from Edinburgh. It's still quite a big city, but we don't have the same sort of tourism or international. It used to be like an industrial town, so most people who grew up there sort of stay there. And I really like Scotland, obviously, and I'm completely biased towards it. But I think you guys will really enjoy Edinburgh. These are some of my interests. So in normal times, I like to travel. I love to get cheap flights or cheap mega buses or really anything, just to try new places. And Edinburgh's a great place for always finding new places just around the corner. There's some like secret gardens, botanical gardens, even the museums. Sometimes they have like these pop-up exhibits, and they're just incredible. I also like to learn new things. I think it's important to keep learning. I'm quite involved in social activism, so I was a welfare officer for Amnesty International. I've been a part of a lot of demonstrations and setting up campaigns and different things like that, which I've really enjoyed. I also love brunch. I think it's the most important meal of the day, and I think everyone should have it. I like to socialise with friends and acquaintances. I also really like outdoor activities. So if you see the top left picture on your screen, that was actually taken in my first year. We had just a freak snow for some reason in about March. And we all went to Kelton Hill and Leith, and we sledged down on IKEA bags, and it's a very fond memory. And I always like that this picture looks like it could be anywhere. It's actually Edinburgh. So I'm from Glasgow, and we have a lot of universities ourselves, but for some reason I was just always drawn to Edinburgh. I think I was glad to move away from home, but I also want to be sort of a safe distance from home, just in case I didn't like it. It's such a diverse city. There's always so much going on culturally. There's so many musical events. There's so many theatre events. Anything you could possibly be interested in, you can find. And most of the time you would find it on the Meadows. It's a big park near the university, and I swear they have pretty much everything there. Like outdoor yoga, they have picnics, they have dogs. I really don't know what more you could want. But also it's quite an active social life. So as I said, I quite enjoy socialising with friends, and I like to do interesting stuff like hiking or going to museums or trying new brunch places. And so I really like that I already had this like built-in atmosphere. So even if you're out on like a Tuesday evening getting dinner, it's never going to be completely dead. It's going to be like quite nice. And the history of Edinburgh, I was also really excited and interested in. We also have a lot of festivals throughout the year, not this year, but hopefully in the coming years when you guys are here. And they're great to work at and just meet new people and try new things. Yeah. Okay, so my degree has been a little bit different from Joy and Emma's. So I did a degree change at the end of first year, so my electives are slightly different to what your guys will be. But I think it's nice to highlight how different your electives can be from your core course. So I started off my junior year as a medical sciences student, but I really liked that you could pick electives that let you pick a breadth of subjects. So the ones in bold are the ones I got to pick. So I had to do biological chemistry and I had to do medical sciences. And I was like, well, that's a lot of lab work and a lot of very specific way of thinking. And I'd always done science, so I thought it would be nice to try something else. And I was just looking through like the social sciences and the different colleges. And I was quite interested in like some history and some basic language skills and just an absolute like random assortment of things. And I actually didn't know what anthropology was because it's not taught in school. It wasn't something that I had really thought about. And I did a quick Google search and I think I picked it in about 3 minutes. And I was like, well, if I hate it, it's just for one semester, but I can get through that. And I fell completely in love with it. Like I was so used to doing science. It was such a different way to do things. And I just thought it was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. And I spoke to my personal tutor and he was like, you're clearly a lot more passionate about this. However, I want to highlight changing degree is not straightforward. It is not simple and it very rarely is allowed to happen. But it's a nice way to develop other interests. So like some people I know did languages in their first year and now they've continued on outside of their studies. Or some of them just like having like a basic level for when they go on holiday or when they go traveling, and I think that's really nice. So the second semester I did similar. I did my basic science courses and then I picked anthropology, which is quite funny because a lot of my friends picked like physics and chemistry and maths, and they would be talking about this, and I'd be trying to write my essays. And then I think this should be second year. Yeah. So in second year, I found the jump from science to social science is quite hard. I think in school I'd just done a lot of science, a lot of maths, and my brain was sort of programmed to work a specific way. And it would probably have been the same in your high schools. Like the way you write essays are very different from each other. So obviously, for instance, in chemistry, it's very factual and it's very focused on numerical values and the outcome and different things like that. Whereas in social sciences, it's a lot more of like deconstructing reasoning and themes and why something has happened and what's led to that happening. And I just really struggled with it. But there's an organisation within the university called the Institute for Academic Development, and it's a great place to go and see, even if it's something like how to write a lab report, because it will sound so silly when you've done 5 of them, but see when you first get here it can be so overwhelming, and they sometimes are just okay, on you go and do it, and you have a week to write it and you're like, oh gosh, I've got no idea what I'm doing. But these people are actually really helpful with it, and I went to a couple of like essay writing seminars and also referencing. I'm not sure if that's something you came across yet, but it's not something that's generally taught in schools or colleges or anything like that. So the Institute for Academic Development is a great one, even if you just write the name down and in 3 months' time you're suddenly like, I've got no idea what I'm doing. I always found that to be really helpful. So in my second year, my electives were Empires, Introduction to Queer Studies, and Identity and Experience in Health. So I'm really interested in sort of health and medicine, and that's why I picked medical sciences to start with. And now I'm still very, very interested in it. I'm just interested in it from a social sciences perspective. And I like that with my electives, I can sort of follow what interests me. So for instance, I do things like this, and some of my other friends do like the anthropology of game design, or I don't know, the history of the European Union or whatever it is. And I just like that I could be so specific about the things that interest me, and I also feel that I do better in subjects if I'm interested in it too. And some tips for electives in anthropology. As I said before, I had absolutely no idea what it was. When I told my mum this is what I was changing degree to, she was completely confused. And I had to explain multiple times that it was not a different kind of science. I think it's important to try new things, and even, for instance, if you were to pick a subject and then you're suddenly like 3 lectures in, you're like, wow, I really hate this. Well, that's good, because you know you don't like it and you're never going to have to do it again. So I think that's a great thing for electives, and sometimes it's a hit and miss, and sometimes you absolutely adore it, or you love it, or it's just so interesting it's not what you thought it was going to be. And I think that's important, especially in your first year. This is a time to make your mistakes, and this is a time to try subjects that you might not have otherwise tried. For anthropology, obviously not generally taught in school, so they don't expect you to know everything. They do not expect you to know how to write anthropologically or how to carry out research, and I was so nervous when I first started about it. But it's something they really teach you, and it's the same in a lot of other disciplines that aren't taught in school. And even the ones that are, they're just expecting you to turn up capable and enthusiastic, and generally they'll help you get where you need to go. I would also say read the introductions for the assigned readings, because sometimes you start them, and for instance, and this is for most classes, it will be like, say, chapter 13. But if you've got no idea what's going on the rest of the book, it makes chapter 13 quite overwhelming. And it took me a while to figure that out as well. But also, like Emma was saying, please do the readings for tutorials. Like, it's something that in my first and second year I probably could have done a bit more, but it makes you feel so much more comfortable in tutorials, and you just know what's going on so much more. And obviously it's completely understandable. Sometimes you miss one or two and that's fine, but I think it's just a really good habit to get into. And the last one as well is ask questions if you're unsure. I know it can be overwhelming, and I know whenever you guys end up in lecture halls, they're very, very large a lot of the time, especially in your first and second year, and that could feel a bit much. But your lecturers have office hours. I think they'll be on Zoom just now, and you can just drop in and you can just be like, hi, X, Y, or Z. Like, I was reading this page and I've read it like 6 times and I just don't get it. And they're really, really good at sort of explaining things and going over them. Also, if you don't want to talk to them in a lecture or tutorial, like, I'm quite okay speaking to people, but I know a lot of other people are a little bit more shy. You can drop them an email. They're probably never going to know it's you. And they're very, very helpful people, and they want you to do your best and they want you to learn. I think that might be me. Yes, I will pass it back over.
Thank you so much. That's so interesting to hear all the different perspectives